Welcome to the Trading Zone. I'm Joe Teague. I hope you all have had a fantastic weekend, having a great start to the trading week. Happy Monday, happy Thanksgiving Day week. Really excited about seeing the whole family and hanging out and just enjoying some time together. I hope you all do the same. And just super exciting. It's just been a whirlwind of trading. Since the election, a lot has happened. Lots going on around the world, as we all know. And I'm going to be talking today about the Trump trade. The Trump trade is back on. That's going to be my trade of the day, but that's what I want to talk about you all with this week. I hope that's okay with everybody. It just is the reality of what we have. So I just want to see what's going to work, what might not work, and what stocks I like. Let me know what stocks you like. If you got any questions about any of these stocks, let me know. If you got stocks you think are better than these for a Trump administration, let me know. Let me know what you think the policies will do, what policies are going to be enacted, what actual changes are going to happen, and how that's going to help the stock market. So certainly there's a lot of hype since the election. We know there's been some big winners recently, and there's been some laggards too. So I want to take a look at some stocks. I'm sure you've heard of some of them. Maybe one or two of them will surprise you as we get through. So Tesla, of course, we know the connections between Elon and Trump. People are talking about how the EV restrictions or lack of new funding for EVs might hurt Tesla, but I think it might hurt their competitors more, and Tesla's just kind of there established in the EV space more so. And I also think the autonomous driving could be the reduced regulations there could be a really big boon for Tesla, of course. Amazon, famously, we know Bezos and Trump have had their spats historically. Big pushback came right before the election, though. Of course, the Washington Post, a newspaper owned by Bezos, declined to make an endorsement. Maybe saw the writing on the wall, and maybe he just wanted to, be on good graces with both sides. Amazon, of course, a corporate powerhouse, is going to do well no matter who's in power. But I do think some Trump policies will be beneficial for Amazon. Stick with me through the video. We'll be getting to that as we get there. NVIDIA, again, another corporate powerhouse. They're going to be doing well, but again, reduced regulation, sped up economy. I think some Amazon news, as you saw here, this could be just a sign that there's still room to run with NVIDIA. If Amazon is investing to try to get into NVIDIA's market share, boy, there still could be potential for NVIDIA, because Amazon's not going to make that bet if it doesn't think NVIDIA's got a lot of market share to take from. So NVIDIA's pie is probably going to keep on growing because this AI trade is not slowing down anytime soon. And finally, we're talking about PayPal. I know we're all really been keyed in on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and wow, the price has just run up so high. Yeah, I like cryptocurrency, not as much as the next guy, perhaps. I do think it has its place. I do think it's a risk on trade. But I do think, and of course, within the cryptocurrency ecosystem, there are winners, losers. There's difference between the altcoins, all that together. But PayPal, I think, is an interesting spot. It is famously founded by Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, were two of the main founders of PayPal. So it's kind of in this intersection of two of the key players here, but also just currently in this payment space, in this online payment space. It's really making a name for itself in the digital asset space. Maybe it's not going to be Bitcoin, maybe it's not going to be Ethereum, maybe it's something we're not really envisioning right now, but PayPal will be there as an online payment system. I think that's kind of how I want to play it, a little more safely, securely, than just going all in on the coins. NVIDIA is another way to play cryptocurrency too. Their rise has mirrored cryptocurrencies over the years too. So just another way to think about it for me while I'm thinking about the big picture trade. And I want to get into all this, but before I do so, let's get out there and talk about the show. Thank you. Oh, Chris, how's it going? Thank you for tuning in here. What do I think about Microsoft and Home Depot? two great stocks are going to do well with the economy. The economy does well. Those two stocks are going to do well. Specifically, interest rate sensitive, Home Depot. More people buying houses, more people selling their houses. They're going to start to really pick up again. I do think that's possible if interest rates fall. No guarantee that happens, though. I think maybe we'll see, a little bit delay in that cycle. There's some pent-up demand, though, for people to start selling their houses and moving. So certainly Home Depot is poised and ready to do so if that were to take place. Microsoft, of course, one of my favorite companies of all time. They're there in the cloud. They're there in the AI. I love it. Don't necessarily think it's going to have this huge Trump boon like some of the other companies. Maybe some regulatory risks still with Microsoft. We'll wait and see. Hopefully not in the new administration. But there's some other stocks I'm going to be talking about in this show. But yes, I love those two companies. I do think they have a great future. Also, thank you so much for the question. How are you doing, Chris? Good to see you tuning in like usual. But let's get on with the show. Let's get it right going here. Remember, every Monday, 1 Eastern, this is the Trading Zone. Excuse me. This is the Trading Zone. I am Joe T. Gay. Welcome every Monday at 1 Eastern. We're here talking about stocks, talking about volatility, talking about big news in the market. I'm a former VIX options market maker. My partner, Brian Stutland, also portfolio manager at Equity Armor Investments, former VIX options market maker. Our company has over 70 years of trading options experience and a wealth of knowledge when it comes to volatility, but a true specialization when it comes to volatility futures and options in the VIX. So let's get into it. The Trump trade is on, of course. We've seen the huge run up in some of these names since the election. I'm going to get into all that as we go. Just fantastic optimism for the American economy. Fantastic optimism about consumer spending going forward. So there are some questions about tariffs. There's some questions about how this is going to work with the trade. And everyone, of course, is excited about lower gas prices. If we can start pumping more gas, reduce some regulations there. So that could be another boon for the economy. Some big gainers in some of the oil and infrastructure already. So we'll see how that pans out. I have some thoughts on that this week coming up. It's going to be a shortened week. Of course, we know Thanksgiving will be taking the lion's share of the trading hours away this week. But we're going to have some interesting things. We have a couple earnings I'll be watching. Dell, CrowdStrike. They might be a little bit interesting to watch. Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales. Going to be really big to see the state of the U.S. consumer. How are they doing? Be really interesting to know. And of course, watching the MAGA trade. How is that changing over the course of the week? Can't wait to see how that changes as we go on. Let's take a look into the volatility zone. This is the SKU index. This measures the 25 delta put in the S&P 500 compared against the 25 delta call in the S&P 500 1 month out. So essentially, are people more afraid of the downside than they are optimistic about the upside? When you see this going up, it's people buying puts more aggressively, and this very closely mirrors, of course, the VIX index. And for me, it's a bit of a leading indicator to volatility. We saw 2 weeks ago, we were talking about how this was looking like a little bit of a bottoming formation here and a good opportunity here. Our system did indeed pick that up and then kind of faded it exactly where we thought it would. Really interesting to see. Now we're back in this range here. We'll see. Are we going to go back lower? It wouldn't surprise me too much if we go back down and test this level down here coming into December. And we have a lot of holidays in December. Thanksgiving, of course, coming up. We're going to have the December holidays with Christmas and the New Year's, and January also has 2 holidays too. So a lot of days off, usually a seasonal weak spot of the year when it comes to volatility. Wouldn't surprise me if that does come down here. But after that, back into February, I expect this to be the new norm. This correlates with a 15 to 18 VIX. I think we'll be sitting in there. We should be expecting that next year. We should not be expecting a 12 to 15 VIX, in my opinion. But we'll wait and see. I'm open to either possibility, but we've just broken out into this new range. The Fed is more anticipating growth, maybe higher interest rates, or leaving interest rates high. But we're also seeing that yield curve steepen. So that's just a sign that we're going to have growth, but we need to accept the volatility coming with that growth. Here it is just on a shorter time period, still above this little trend line here. I think that I expect it to hold. It might not. I'll be okay if it doesn't. Here is the VIX futures curve. This is finally getting back into a more normal shape. This is, if you've been following our show, this is what I've been telling you is likely to happen after the election, where you have the spot month now below the front month, which is below the second month and third. That's what I usually expect to see, is a curve that looks like that. We finally got it back. Interesting to see, interesting to note. This is how it normally plays out. So we're back in the normal contango here for the VIX. Maybe a good sign for the bulls in the market, thinking that all is well in the world. Here is the S&P 500 charts. I've been watching this all year. Fantastic. These are really just fantastic trend lines here. This was awesome to see this spot hold, of course, and we had this really great rally pushing up into here, and then we had a big hinge, a big problem here in the middle of the year. Great job on the market just recovering it, staying above this trend line in my opinion, and now we're back up riding this upward trend line higher. Just really amazing growth for me to see. And last week, even though it looked dicey at the end of 2 weeks ago, at the start of last week, we were down here. I just love to see that we were supported right here at this previous high. Previous resistance becomes current support, and it just seems like the market's ready to make another stab here. The more times you test a resistance, the more likely it is to be broken. So just really, really good price action for me last week in the S&P 500. NASDAQ not doing quite as well. That's okay. I think it's okay to have the broader market leading it, the S&P 500 leading the NASDAQ, especially when you saw NVIDIA. We were really excited about their earnings last week, really hopeful that they could break out, break these semis out into, closer to their all-time highs. It didn't happen for NVIDIA. That's okay. NVIDIA's just had a tremendous year. The earnings were fine. The trade I gave last week, go back and give it, was a really good example of a way to get into NVIDIA without dumping a lot of premium, without risking a lot on that one trade. Again, NVIDIA is a company. We'd love to buy it if it pulled back. That's part of the trade. Want to participate if it goes higher. That is just part of the trade. That's just kind of how we're looking at a lot of these opportunities here within this market, because, boy, there's a lot of high-flying names we like. It's hard to buy names at really high valuations. Are there other opportunities for us if we're not in the names yet to get into them? And, yeah, that was what that NVIDIA trade was all about. Taking a look at NVIDIA, just had a tremendous run up, and we're kind of stuck here at this level, and that's okay. It's okay to instead of having a correction in price coming down really quickly, maybe you can correct just in time. Just let it be at this 140, 135, 145 area for a month, 2 months, kind of compress that out, let all the moving averages come up to it. I think that would be just fine. So finally, I want to get to the big story of the day, and that is, of course, the Trump trade. Now, I think energy is going to be great during the Trump presidency. I think there's going to be a lot more oil being produced, a lot more gas being produced, fewer regulations, fewer restrictions. Maybe that'll be good on the margins for some supplying companies, some companies that supply tools and services for a lot of these big companies. But a lot of these big companies have had a big run up anticipating this action. But I think they're not going to be producing companies. They're not going to be able to make up the price drops on supply, on quantity. They're not going to make it up on volume because the price is going to fall. And I think that's going to be good for the economy. I don't know if that's going to be great for energy stocks. I mean, it's really interesting. Under a Biden administration, energy stocks did surprisingly well. The prices were higher, so they were able to have a bigger profit margin. Maybe some of the regulations will increase their profit margins, but on lower costs, on lower price, I think it'll be hard for a lot of these companies to succeed in a vast way. Hopefully, we see over the next 4 years, a reduction in the geopolitical risks. I think that will also be a pressure on price. I think that would be really good broadly for a lot of other areas too, obviously. But I don't know if energy is, it seems like it should be, but I don't know if that's going to be a part of my Trump trade. I think there is a place in a portfolio for some energy, but not to have a oversized position in it right now. But of course, one of those companies in my Trump trade will be Tesla. Now, I think there will be infrastructure spending. I think that will be good for the overall grid. I think Tesla's more poised to take advantage of that. Now, I think some of the restrictions put on EVs and some of the government subsidies put forth for EVs on the surface, that might seem bad for Tesla if the $7,500 tax credit were to go away. But I think that hurts Tesla's competitors more in the EV space than it does themselves. So I think they'll be gain. They're going to gain more than Ford and GM loses, I guess, in that trade-off. And I also think the big factories they have in Texas, the big gigafactories, are going to be buoyed by the producing in America policy. So I think that could be a big boon for them. Now, another company I think will do quite well is Amazon. Now, didn't do so great in the first Trump administration. Maybe they're trying to hedge their bets right now, just try to play both sides. And I mean, it was a great company during the Trump administration. Don't get me wrong. Had a fantastic 4 years, but I think maybe it wishes it could have done better. Had more government programs, more government contracts. It lost one big cloud one to Microsoft during that time period. So I think maybe it's trying to get on better footing with the administration. We'll see how that plays out. But I do think tax reforms will be really big for all large corporations. I think Amazon being a very large employer of American workers, I think that'll be a big boon to them if there are incentives to companies that employ American workers, of course. And so I think the AI trade, of course, that whole ecosystem, I think they are in the mix of it. They have tremendous data, and they also have the storage, and they have those two components of it. Now they're trying to get into the third component, which is, of course, the hardware component. That would be interesting to see if they can. But yes, they got the cloud, they got the data. Are they going to participate in the hardware component? That would be just amazing. Just kind of the trifecta of AI. But that's just like a side of their business, because their main business, of course, is just a retail to Americans. So the next company I have in the Trump trade, one of the hottest companies this year, Palantir, founded by Peter Thiel, of course, a big backer of the Trump presidency. So I think this would be a huge winner. Of course, they're a big defense company. They will be a part of that reshaped defense spending. Big government contracts. I think if you're going to be looking at cost cutting in a lot of government agencies, it makes sense to look at companies like Palantir that is able to do a lot of efficiencies when it comes to looking at the big data, deciding what actions to take, and yeah. So I again, it's another company that is going to be favored by the AI wave, even without the connections to the presidency. I think it's going to have a fantastic 4 years, of course. Still on the AI trade, I still love NVIDIA. Their earnings were fantastic, in my opinion. Just the growth is just exactly where it should be. And I think that's going to continue. I think, a stronger U.S. economy is going to allow for that to continue still. These companies still need to buy more data centers. We're still in the early phase of this build out when it comes to having these AI computing data centers available for us. So NVIDIA is the best of the best when it comes to their AI computing. They're the best of the best when it comes to the software on those chips. So they are, for the first and foremost, when it comes to the AI trade, they are going to be the leader, and that's not going to change. As much as I love Palantir, NVIDIA is still going to be the best of the best. Now they're priced like it, but their growth potential is absolutely still exactly where it is. Now, finally, I want to move to the crypto world. This has been the biggest winner since the Trump presidency. Just seen a tremendous run up. I mean, even when it looked like he was favored to win, you saw Bitcoin start to rise. I think in the summer it was in the 50,000 range, and we basically doubled since then. So yeah, I think that's exactly why people are excited about cryptocurrencies. They're excited about Bitcoin and under a Trump presidency, and I think it's because of a deregulation mindset. Yes, the Trump administration is they've talked favorably about Bitcoin. They have an altcoin. They're the whole sector is something that they're broadly interested in. Whole projects are interested in. I think Trump has also said he wants to see America be the leader of Bitcoin. Where it's mined and where the innovation happens. So yeah, I think that is something to be excited about, and broadly criticize. He's also criticized central bank. He's criticized the economic systems of the West. So that's a feather in the cap for people who are really thinking Bitcoin is going to be the huge winner. But it's had such a big run up. It's hard for me to put my money in it now. But also the risks that I see now in Bitcoin are the same that I've always felt. Like Bitcoin could change from being the leader at any point in time. Now, blockchain, I think, will be here to stay. That's something that is not going away. But does it have to be Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin going to still be the one that is going to be the leader forever? Right now, it seems obvious that it will, but it might not be so obvious 4 years from now. So there's just uncertainty still around Bitcoin. Are we certain? Are we sure this is going to be the one? Well, I mean, what if there is some sort of conflict that furthers with Iran or other terrorism in the Middle East, and they're starting to use Bitcoin as a way to move money around? Won't the U.S. just say, "Hey, we're going to stop that because we can. We're going to make Bitcoin illegal and then use some other coin"? I mean, that's certainly a possibility. It's not something that we're going to just throw out the window and say can't happen. And also, just remember that Bitcoin is, even if it is the number one coin, if it stays number one coin, it's going to remain to be volatile. So for me, just being in the coins themselves don't seem to be the way to go for me. I'm looking at another way to get into it. I'm actually looking at PayPal. Now, PayPal, of course, I mentioned at the top here, founded by Elon and Peter Thiel, among others. So that's two key players in the administration right now. With history with this company, and they're not really necessarily there now, but their connections, of course, are still there. So it's an e-commerce giant. It's growing when it comes to the digital payment world. I think that's really crucial, with or without blockchain. But it is growing when it comes to blockchain payments. So they're in that space. They're in the credit card space. I think this is just a name that's going to grow with the U.S. economy. It's going to grow with e-commerce, and it's going to grow with blockchain. So this is kind of like an alternative way for me to look at this Trump trade, this MAGA trade. Maybe people aren't thinking about this, but for me, this is kind of a slam dunk. I'd rather be in this. I think it's a little safer for me to be in than Bitcoin. If Bitcoin does great, PayPal is going to do great. If Bitcoin doesn't do great, Bitcoin has, a huge retracement. PayPal might be hurt, but they're not going to go down nearly as much. So that's kind of what my thought process behind the trade. Here is the Trump trade: Palantir, Amazon, NVIDIA, Tesla, PayPal, the PANT-P trade. I'm sure someone will come up with a better nickname for that. And here's what it looks like. Yeah, these stocks have done great. Of course, we know Palantir having a fantastic year. NVIDIA, we know, having a fantastic year, but not so bad coming from PayPal, 55%. Nobody would shake a stick at that. Tesla, 47%, and Amazon, 35%. Of course, That looks bad on this chart, but I think we'd all be thrilled with that on any given year, especially when it's beating the market so comfortably. So that's my thoughts on the Trump trade. That's my thoughts on 5 growth companies that I'm looking for outsized upside return over the next 4 years. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have different companies you think are going to do well, if you think I'm wrong about energy, let me know. If you think I'm wrong about Bitcoin, let me know. Happy to hear your thoughts. But that is my thoughts on the Trump trade. And that's going to be it for me this week. I really enjoyed bringing this to you this week. I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time off. Spend it with your family. Get some relaxation in and come back ready to trade next week. I'm Joe Teague. Catch us every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Trading Zone.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.